let me get into me a bit. I got a lot of feedback.
Turn his speaker a little bit away from him.
It's very possible. Very possible.
Turn. Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Juan.
Okay.
Stand back a
I mean, stand back from there. I mean, from
Where's here?
Okay. So I just stand in the middle and just stay here? You know, I really have a sense of humor. I really like to laugh a lot. So, and I'm glad that you're humoring me as well. So, thank you. My name is Deborah Jones, and I got into this arena a long time ago. My family was in the government. I was born in Washington, D.C., and most majority of the people that work in Washington are usually work within the government, and my parents were. And so, as I was growing up, my mother, I really don't know particularly what she did for the government. It was a secret, but whatever she did, whatever she saw, whatever they exposed her to, she found the reasons. It was a necessity process for her to come home and experiment on me. Why me and not my other siblings to this day is benign to me, so I have no idea. And because of some of the things that she were doing to me, I thought, I don't know if she is a woman. She's supposed to be my mother, but she was doing some very odd and strange and very painful stuff to me. She was pretty much my tormentor. Okay, my mother tortured me.
Wow.
So at that point, you know, I was really with a lot of beatings, a lot of tortures. You know, I have scars in my body to this day from the things that she's done to me. And it was very confusing for me because the very person that you would feel that should be loving you and protecting you are the one that's abusing you the most. I mean, what my mother did made Girl Scouts out of some of the hideous crimes of men. They're Girl Scouts compared to what she did. And that's no joke. And I thought, man, you know, what's that guy Bomber? He's got nothing on this. My mother, I mean, she was out there. So I didn't know if she was under mind control or what it was, whatever she did. But she would bring it home to me. And so I set out to want to know what was this institution that she was part of that got her doing those things. So I set out to, because I'm a visionary and I'm clairvoyant, I could see into the future. And so I put myself in that arena that I wanted to get inside of there. I wanted to see what it was and expose it and bring it to the people. Because as a child, growing up in Washington, D.C., you know, it's not hard for me to believe about what they call themselves corporate government and what they have done, because I lived that era. There was sex slavery going on in Washington, D.C., and we're talking about the 60s. I was born in the 60s. Quite shocking for a lot of people, because they think, oh, God, no, that just came much later. No, I'm sorry. I'm a prodigy of that. I can tell you that. So I can test, I got first-hand account on that. I end up having to, they protected my mother. I would run away almost nightly because of the things she was doing to me. And the police would return me to her, and they would say, do as you will, beat her until she stopped doing this. The beatings got worse, and certain things got worse. And I kept running away, and I would try to tell it to the school officials. They didn't want to hear it. So eventually what they started doing was sticking me in, you know, mental institutions and giving me electric shocks. I was being tortured there as well. And so I couldn't figure out how that I was enduring all of this. And I was thinking, gee, Deb, who are you? Because this is impossible for a young child such as myself at the time that I was going through it to even survive much of what I was enduring. But I saw my life. I was here. I'm here for a greater purpose. And so I will survive. And I will live to tell about it. But, I also treaded very fine in everything that I did. Because I was told at any point, I would be taken out. And they, so there's been many accounts of my own mother have attempted to, take me out herself. And every time an angel showed up and saved me. So, and I mean every time. So I thought, yes, I definitely have a great purpose here for that. I will live up to that. So I knew that I had to be good. Whatever I did, it was for the people. I always kept my eye on the ball. So I set out and said, okay, I need to infiltrate that institution, whatever that is. And the final day of me running away, an angel child came to me and said, Deborah, it's time to go. Your mother's coming home to kill you tonight. Let's go. So I grabbed my little trunk, and she laid out the plans, and she says, we're going to go take Amtrak, and when we get to New York City, she even told me, everything. And I thought, wow. At the time that took place, I was 6 years old, 7 years old. Can you imagine a 6-year-old, 7-year-old girl running away? To this day, I think, wow, what a great movie. What a great, fantastic movie. And she said, we're going to go to New York, and there's going to be a guy waiting for you. He's going to take you to your new parents. I said, really? And just like that, got on the Amtrak, went up to Amtrak, carrying this little briefcase. It was real heavy. Before I did that, I did one last act. Well, I don't know, I just had to get back. I don't know whatever my mother did, but I went into this little closet of hers, and there were a closet full of money. So I took a garbage bag and started dumping it. I says, I'm doing this one last act. Dumped all the money in the garbage bag, and she just, it's time to go, Deborah. So don't worry, we will get this done. Took the big trash, little girl as I am, I'm dragging across the street to my elementary school. And I start handing out this money to everybody. Start handing it out. And they didn't know where that money was coming from. So finally, the little boy went up to the principal. He went to get him his bundle of cash because he had plenty to sell. And he said, where'd you get this money? Oh, she's outside in the parking lot. She's giving out all this money. So he comes running out and said, where did you get this money? So I'm calling the cops. So the angel child said, let's go. It's time to go. And so I left and got on Amtrak, went up to Amtrak and, paid cash for my ticket. And the conductor came and said, where's your parents? And I said, we got split up. They're getting on the train way down there. He said, okay, never mind. Just come on now because we're leaving right now. Got up on the train. And so something was wrong with the doors, so he couldn't walk down to the other cars. Okay? The doors were jammed. So I sat in the seat. He put me next to another woman. We talked the whole way. And never met up with my parents, supposedly. And got up. So anyways, when I got to the station, showed up, I got off. I stood still. And he walked up to me and said, you must be the little girl I'm waiting for. I said, I guess so. Let's go. And she walked out. And there was the Reverend Moon. I'll never forget it. They was doing their convention across the street. He took me over there. We had a nice meal. And he told the parents what time the train was coming in. When Reverend Moon, they finished their event, as we was coming outside, and it was at 34th Street, 6th Avenue, New York City. Okay. And they were standing there, and he walked me over, and he introduced me to them, said, here's your new parents. And the woman reached down and said, you're my daughter that I lost. Oh, wow. So, yeah. So that's, and then from there, I, eventually, we kind of got separated about a week later when I went to Central Park. And he took me to this, Central Park was huge. I don't know if anybody's been there. And he told me not to go down the hill because we would get lost. And I eventually went down the hill and got lost and was able to find my way back to him. So they eventually had to call the police, and that would put me into the foster home, and that's when they was able to locate my father. So they reunited me to my father. So I stayed with my father.
Your real father.
Your real father.
Yes, my real father. They had separated at some point, and he was married to another woman. So anyways, that's where my journey began. I started telling him what was going on. So, and I was having outbursts because I was waking up screaming at night from the much torture, and I had a lot of anger, things like that. And so I began to tell him he didn't believe me. And one day I ended up getting into trouble, and I went before the courts. And it was an unusual turnout. There was like every district attorney in the entire state there, every SY, all the judges was there. I'm thinking, what's going on here? Well, Washington, D.C. found out where I was. Yeah. It was a showdown between Washington, D.C. and Massachusetts. And when I went before the judge, I pretended because when I was reporting this, they would return me back over to her. I wasn't talking. I pretended like I did. Suddenly I developed a hearing problem, and I wasn't speaking anymore. Went up before the judge's room. The courtroom was packed. Judge, he had a thick file on me. He looked over. He looked at everybody. He said, "Little girl, I don't know if you can hear me." He says, "But if you can notice, we have every district attorney in the entire state right here in this courtroom." He said, "You see this file here? Washington, D.C. want you back." He says, "Now, 8 years old, I couldn't imagine what you have done at 8. But he said, they want to put you in a psych ward until you were 45 years old. They want us to turn you over." They said, because they showed us this file, they said, we decided that we was going to put the entire state of Massachusetts, and we was going to say no. And we said no to them. And he said, and in all his years, he's never seen anyone have gone through as much torture as I had. And the amount of record, the amount of information or document they had on me couldn't have shown that I did anything horrendous. According to them, I should have committed genocide in comparison to what they wanted me to do, to be in jail until I was 45. And he said, we all gathered, we looked, the doctors took pictures of your scars on your body, and they said, we think that she needs to be in an environment where there's love. This woman, this little girl, has never been in an environment that cared for her and protected her. There was no love there. Her father's here. He turned to my father. He said, "Sir, I believe you're going to provide her the love and protection she needs." He says, because the entire state of Massachusetts is riding on this fact. He says, I don't know if you can hear me. I wouldn't speak either in comparison to what we see here. He says, you cannot afford to get in any more trouble at all. He says they will come in and they will remove you from the state of California, from Massachusetts, and there will be a fight over this. The state of Massachusetts have decided to adopt you and make you a ward of the state.
Wow.
And we will provide for your care. And anything should happen to you, they're going to have to come to us. So he said, we're staking everything, and he said, including my judgeship is on the line for this. He says, so when you grow up, I hope you be a police officer. And that's what I did.
Oh, wow.
I became a police officer. Because I took that and I heeded that. And that was the first time I cried. I still didn't speak because I couldn't trust it. So, I went to my father. For the first time, he realized all that I was saying was true. Because what happened was when they put me into the mental institution, they put me on a severely heavy medication. I started blurting it out. And they went back and reported to the judge. That's how they knew what was happening to me. So they brought in a hypnotherapist to recount my memory. And they was able to extract that. And they realized the torture that I had been through and expose them for who they really were at the time. And so they at that time was quite shocked of learning about federal government at the time. Quite shocking for them too. So I changed my life, and I made sure that I stayed on the right side of the law because of that. That has always been in the back of my mind. So I grew up and got into the police department at a very young age. I moved from my father, got married. I had a baby, got married, and I was into martial arts very heavily. My husband was Chinese at the time. I married my master's son, and we had a Chinese restaurant. I won't go into the story about that. I told that on Monday. So anyways, that was fun. It was exciting to have a restaurant because we were spectacular of a community because we had a restaurant where it was hard for people to come in and see a black girl with a 6-foot Chinese guy. And so every time when people would come in and they would ask for something, they would always, comment, "Who is that fella?" Because they wanted me to say that was my husband. Did you hear him? Did you hear him? She said that was her husband. So it was an exciting time. So I ended up moving to New York and continued my martial arts and got into police. And when I got there and joined the police department, my master said to me, he says, "I don't know why you feel the need to get into the police department." And he says, "But however, due to the cosmetics that you have encountered since you've been here so far, please don't fire a single shot. Do not kill someone else on the behalf of someone else." At the time, it didn't sink in till as I started to mature through the police department and began to see what he was really referring to. And I said, for that reason, this is New York City. Everybody knows how to fight here. Are you kidding me? So he says, "Well, I'll make sure that when I teach you, you would take down any assailant. I don't care how big they are, how small they are. You'll have the ability to take them down. At least give your best fight." He said, "If anything, you die a war or death, but whatever you do not remove your revolver from your holster, unless, of course, it's unequivocally for self-defense." So I said, okay. He taught me principles. I managed to use the principles in my everyday life, and so I managed to get through the police department, and then started from there, merged into getting into law, become an attorney, and work my way into the government through sitting on legislative boards, Senator Moynihan, and then also volunteering my services with Ways and Means Committee under Charles Rangels in New York. At the time, they was also mentoring me when they realized my ability to articulate, to read and write and comprehend. They touched me to be either to be groomed for a senator or congressional member, but they wanted me to get in through being a constitutional lawyer. I, at that point, turned down that request because I had seen enough. And often when I would accompany Senator Moynihan, I was hoping that they never find out what they found out, that it was always scary for me to go into Washington, D.C., because what Massachusetts did, they exiled me from Washington, D.C. And to this day, I'm so thankful for that. But I knew that I had to go back. And it always frightened me every time I went back, because if, in fact, they discovered who I were when I went back, I was finished. But because of who he were at the time, he had a lot of clout, and because they were grooming me, I think they just kind of overlooked it. I don't know. To this day, I'm just only speculating. When I saw how they really done business in Washington, D.C., I was very, very, very disenchanted. But at the same time, I remind myself what my mother did to me. So I think this is no surprise. It's just that I can visually see this for myself. That was a surprising because I was right there staring and looking at their behaviors, their actions, how they call themselves voting on bills. And meanwhile, in the evening time, we have little children that's coming in through the tunnels, and they're having sex with these children. Okay, they're raping and things like that. That was going on. Secret Service turning their head, looking the other way. It was appalling what was going on there. and the American people, none of the ones that didn't know all of that was taking place. And I said, if I live, I'm going to do my best to get this out to the people. So I always maintained focus. I made sure that I did just enough just to get by, but I made sure that I didn't cross the line. I made sure that I didn't get deep. Yeah, we all have done things that I think we could regret it because of the position that we were placed in as police officers, as attorneys or whatever, aides that we've done. I worked for the federal government I volunteered for them for about a year. I decided I couldn't take any more. At that time I met Bill Clinton. I met George Bush, Sr. I did help revitalize the Small Business Administration under George Bush Sr. Met Nelson Mandela. At that time, I wasn't in politics heavily. I had my own construction business, and so the ambassador of the UN of New York came to me and asked me if I'd be willing to escort Nelson Mandela back to South Africa and help rebuild South Africa. They asked, like, woman, you need to rally all your other alliance, nonprofit, other businesses to help with that movement, and I did. And so I went to South Africa, and I was there for some time, and I did some other things. I helped with the movement for minorities getting into construction, women into construction. So I did an enormous amount of stuff, to be active and to learn everything that I can learn about, politics. And then I met Clinton, and he wanted me to come into his ministry, and I turned it down. I said, no, I'm not interested in going there. So they always told me that they was going to make my life a little difficult, and I was always prepared for that. I truly never think that I was going to get beyond 21, age 21. I always just was biting my tongue. And to be frank with you, I'm in my 50s. I really didn't think I was going to see 40. So this clearly tells me that I'm on course with what I am to do, and that I am very, 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 very protected. So I know that I'm on course with getting the information out, and it's being very, very received. It was a very different story when I started telling this. Many people didn't believe it. It's hard to believe, I know. But it is not hard to believe because there's many other stories like mine and worse. You look at Hollywood, many of the childhood stars talks about this all the time. Bob Hope ran a child slavery system through Hollywood. Bob Hope did. I do know a whistleblower who is one of the students in my class, witness. She was a PR for the Jackson family. Anytime that they were performed, she saw Michael being raped every night. Okay? And many others, not just him, many others. So it is overlooked.
I apologize.
They don't consider it, they don't look at it. It's a fad for them, it's like a toy to them. And they don't realize the damage that they do to the children. I think that saving grace for me was martial arts. It was strong discipline. Did a lot of meditation, a lot of deprogramming. There was a lot of techniques that helped build my mind. They did enormous amount of damage to wipe out my memory through electric shock. People often said that never occurred. I'm first-hand experience. It happened. And there was a great deal of my memory wiped out. I could not remember a large portion of my childhood because of it. But slowly, as I stayed on course and ate healthy and been around swamis and other Tibetan monks and masters, I was able to start regaining some of that memories. And I just stayed on course and stayed strong. Because of that lifestyle, I made sure that I didn't go down that path of prostitution and drugs and alcohol. And today, I don't have any addiction at all. So when I talk to other law enforcement who's caught up in this system, they tell me it's difficult to get out. I said, it isn't. Look at me. I've done it. You can do it too. Yes, when we were as a police officer, it was mandatory, and I say mandatory. You either was an alcoholic or you were druggy. At the time when I was going through the police department, it was cocaine.
You mean you had to be on cocaine?
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, it was the choice of drug at the time. And I went to my father one day. I said, I had some scuffles with police officers, my daughter being kidnapped on numerous occasions. So finally, when they told me I needed to get out of the police department, I was happy to do it. There was one concern that I had because we had been indoctrinated to do drugs and alcohol. And I went to my father and said, Dad, I've got one serious problem. I absolutely want it out of my system because I don't want to go down that road of drug addiction. You see that. And he turned to me and he said, honey, you have a strong, strong will. 21 kids. You have the most strongest will of the combination of the combined 21 children. He says, you have a powerful mind. He says, you have such a powerful mind. You don't need to go to that 12-step program. You don't need to do anything. He says, you go within. You tell yourself, that was an experience. You're done with it, and be done. And you will be fine tomorrow. That's what he said to me. And I did just that. And look at me today. Never had to go to a drug program. So moving on. So basically as I got into law and saw the things that I saw, I made it a point to absolutely stay focused. And how can I step out and aid those in having a better understanding about this process and why it is the way it is. There's been many teachers out there that has been teaching incorrectly. They're on to it, but incorrectly. And I've gone to them, and I said the reason why I got in is because you cannot understand a system without infiltration. Everyone knows that if you get into martial arts or any type of fighting, particular type of hobby, should I say, the biggest thing that you have to study your opponent. How do you study that opponent? At some point you train in that opponent's camp. That's war strategy. You have to infiltrate to see their weakness in order to use it against them. You cannot always be on the outside. You must be inner. After all, isn't that what the law enforcement do? They have taken down the Panthers and everybody else through infiltration. That's the only way you can do it. So I maintained that focus and kept that as my center focus to do that. Yes, there were days if I thought, really, I hope I do live to see 60. That's the honest God truth. But if I do, I will tell this story. I will tell the story. And that's why I'm here today, to hopefully bring that to you. And I'm thrilled to be here in Washington, one of the many states that have invited me to come. So I want to get into that because it's important what's going on, what's happening with this new thing with the Ferguson uprising is that they have been building toward that for months and months and months and months and months and months and months. What this, I gave you there was handouts that was given to everyone. You really, absolutely, unequivocally need to study that and read it over and over and over and over. And go to my website, protrustacademy.com, because it ties to an excise tax. That's a military lien that every single one of you, this is how they're charging you, ticketing you, using fear of loss against you, losing your foreclosure, is because of that very lien. You hear what I'm saying? And no one has been told this. The War Power Act of 1917 is what they're going after every single American. This is their move coming 2015. They were waiting, they were doing, they thought that they could incite martial law doing occupation of Wall Street. New Yorkers are very clever and they already knew what the plans were. They knew the fix was in. They used Trayvon Martin's story and numerous of others. They thought they was going to excite the people to take to the streets because they want you to keep them alive. They are at their last woes. They are going down. And the only way that they can stay alive if you take to the streets and damage and do harm to another. You will keep them alive and well. Don't put any energy in this Ferguson stuff. Don't talk about it. Anybody say, I have no comment. Don't protest. It's staged. Do you hear what I'm saying? It's staged. They have hired a casting crew to come in and pay them. Do you know? If you go to a website called Well, WELLAWARE, #1.com, he has exposed this thing.
Repeat that, please.
Well, WELLAWARE, #1.com. Yeah, Well Aware 1.
Thank you.
He exposed it. They tried to bring him up on a false gun charge, and he won his case in the Supreme Court. He fought his own case and won, and the ruling came down in September this year. The reason why they was going after him, because he said they are all actors. He does ear biometric. He uses a scientific technology that is not his creation. He'll show you how it's done. And he exposed Alex Jones. He started going and realizing that people that pretending to be someone was actually was actors. Do you know the Queen of England is Lucille Ball? No, of course not. Do you know that what's her name? Celine Dion. Celine Dion, thank you. She just discovered 2 months ago that her husband is her father, Elvis Presley.
Her name? Her husband?
Her husband is her father, Elvis Presley. She has 2 kids. They did a DNA and it confirmed it.
Oh my God. What?
She canceled all her shows indefinite when she learned it. He claimed to be sick and they're getting divorced. And so, I mean, it's going to be shut up, but yeah, that kind of stuff. The Pope is some actor in California. You go to this website, you can expose it. Well, what was shocking to me when he showed Oprah Winfrey and her mother there pretending to be Michael Brown's cousins. Got a clear shot of her. And I thought, whoa, this is, okay. Now, he started exposing one at a time, and each time he exposes them, they bow out. And I know that for a truth. Now, he decided to focus his camera on Michael Brown's mother. They don't no longer show her face anymore. He discovered it was Whoopi Goldberg.
How come then she doesn't look like her?
No, excuse me, we're doing acting? Are you kidding me? You put on makeup. Have you seen Star Trek?
Yeah.
Harry Perry, I mean, come on, let's get real here. Hollywood can make you look like anybody. What's wrong with you? Mission Impossible? You see how they do makeup? It's ear biometrics that he uses. Go to the website. Look for yourself. Look at the pictures, study them. I've seen it with my own eyes myself.
Wow.
I actually seen celebrities when I was a background actress that I know that are in there, in the crowd. I seen it myself just 2 days ago. I watched your news. I was looking at the crowd, and there was a few of them that I recognized, and I thought, holy mackerel. There's an application, I meant to bring it tonight just to show it to you. They are paid actors and actresses. No longer do they show Michael Brown mother's face anymore. She's huddled, somebody's got in front of her, they put huge balloons in front of her, they don't even show her face anymore. Now why would that be? Because if she's his real mother, why suddenly you can't see her face anymore? They've gone out of the way. He discovered that the attorney was Tracy Morgan. Suddenly he bowed down, said, okay, well, I'm not going to be an attorney anymore, so they have a new attorney in there. So each time he exposed them and they get notified, people posted them, they bow out, just like what's happening. And I noticed that. And a few more that he stated, and they backed out. Well, if you go to the website, you'll know who Michael Brown really is. He is a rapper's son. He'll show you his picture. And those of you who's know some rappers, I don't follow that music, but I was shocked to know who Michael Brown really was. All of that is staged, the whole event. This government will go through great lengths to do what it needs to do. It needs to stay alive. And you need to start saying, no, I don't consent. Okay? And the whole time, they've been operating under admiralty law, having you as prisoners of war, holding you sureties and as prisoners of war of a bankruptcy that took place in 1939 that nobody have yet seen the proof of. There's no proof of that. What did I say? 33. Actually, it was really a little before that. I won't go into that. I won't even touch on that Trojan. Actually, the bankruptcy was before 1933, to be frank with you.
1782.
So, actually it was 17, you're close, 1789 somewhere. And then there was another one back in 1800. So there were several bankruptcies this country has endured over the time. So, if you have, quote unquote, just common sense there, maybe not. Here's what they've done. They gave us a system that you didn't really learn how to read and write and comprehend. Because the language that they taught us is fraudulent conveyance of language. Okay? They taught us that there is 26 AZ alphabet. Technically, there's 52. So we are all speaking half a language. We're speaking half truth. This is what they have done. They have forced us to go to their school fool systems. Go ahead and say it, school fool system. That's what they have done. And they have done this down. Giving us only enough information so that we can just put out bare mittens. That was it. Because you were sureties, you were prisoners of war, you were orphanage. They gave you the story of Noah, how God flooded the earth to fool you for one thing, to tell you how admiralty, the law of the sea, came upon dry land. That's how they tricked you. And we bought it hook, line, and sunk. That's how they did it. The laws of the 7 seas came aboard from since 1200 through Vatican. It started with the Vatican, with his Papa, that he claimed that he posted out, gave the world the notice. Shoot, I don't know who remembers seeing it. and said it went rebutted for 21 days. This is how the affidavit came about. This is the creation of affidavit. When you post an affidavit for 21 days, if it goes rebutted, you are a policy maker. That was another thing they didn't want you to ever learn. You are the legislators in this room. But you none the wiser don't know that because of their school fool system. they taught you 1/3 and withheld 2/3 of the information from you. Because all they wanted to just do bare mittens to pay you, give you enough. The oath, anyone who took oath of affirmation for those agencies, you took an oath to be a slave, indefinite, and many in your generations to come. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, it wasn't until the 2000s that people started talking about oaths. And I couldn't figure out, I said, what is going on? Why is everybody raising this question about oath? Come to learn that as an attorney, as a police officer, or any law enforcement, anyone in the judicial branch, we took 2 oaths. First in line is first in time. We took an oath to the fraternal order. That's when I remember. I said, oh my God. No, why then there's this no allegiance to the Constitution. That is why. Even when I volunteered for the federal government, there was a first oath, and then there was the second oath. And I couldn't figure that out. I mean, I would ask a question, and I don't think I remember anyone giving me an answer. I would say, well, why is the Constitution, what's the last one that we took an oath to? And I don't think I ever got an answer. I had to learn it on my own. It took a while, but I got there. But what really set me off is when every time we turned somewhere, we was pledging our allegiance to a damn flag that doesn't even speak. And I had problems with that when I was going to school. I was going to the principal's office every single morning. Throughout all ages. My father forever was coming to parent and teacher school every month. He said, what is wrong with your daughter? Why don't she pledge allegiance to a flag? He says, I don't either. I says, well, that's where she get it from. Yep. And he says, no better than you. He says, oh, I'm sorry. What did you say? Please say that a little louder. Oh, I was just mumbling. Yes, I thought you were. He says, I taught my daughter to question everything. Obviously, whatever you're teaching her, she's not in agreement with. This is where I learned to have this agreement thing, because that was a big key. Nothing moves on this planet without a contract. Everything is basically 2 things. It is contract or trust. They're administering a trust. After all, they went into receivership. Who administers the trust? Trustees. Who is the trustees? The courts. So everything you do, you have to get permission. Remember? Everything you need to do. If you need to go to Disneyland, they're taking your DNA now, and you got to make, taking your fingerprint. I mean, for everything you do, you got to get permission for it. You need a license. You need to lie about everything you do. We're all living lies. We're living someone else's lie. All of us. They gave us titles so we can feel good about being slaves. Glorified slaves is what they made us. To feel good, I'm a judge, I'm an attorney. I felt good about it too, I'm a police officer. But I was good about being a slave. I felt good about it. I didn't know. I didn't know. Like most of us that didn't know. So getting back to the law of the 7 seas, they brought admiralty there. And ever since, this America has been operating and functioning under admiralty. And then on the other hand, it's been operating as a trust. Uniform Commercial Code is based on all the countries agreeing to having a uniform way of communicating. But see, they taught us 2 things. They taught us academics, and then those of us that was in the legal world, we learned about legalese. But there's a third communication, is the proper way that they really actually communicate with each other. It's called a Universal Style Manual. There's 250 countries on this planet, and each of them have their own style manuals. Like, what the hell? What is that? Where the hell did that come from? You go in there, it actually tells you what every A to Z, lower and upper. And I think, okay, back up a little bit here. You're telling me that there is 2 distinct legal designation for uppercase and lowercase and proper case? We didn't learn that in that full school system. We were rejected to anything that was supposed to be person, place, and thing, where now we're walking around here doing adverb, verb. And they go, okay, no wonder we're all messed up here in America. We're not really effectively communicating. They have tricked us and deceived us on every level. I mean, how far do you want to go down the rabbit hole? It's what you have to really ask yourself at this point. How far do you want to go down? Because it's pretty deep. And it's it's interwoven. I mean, they got it going on. But hey, I'm not mad at them. I admire the brilliancy of this. You can only, after crying my eyes out and learning this stuff and realize we all been duped, and I've been duped, and anybody else, I come to admire what they've done. It makes my job, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about decoding them. I'm excited about learning how to uncover them. This is exciting for me. I don't watch television. Hell, this is reality for me. It is. I enjoy my life every single day looking in the mirror. Because I get to figure out something else. Matrix was all about decoding. Matrix was all about understanding how to come out of this system. But before you can get out of it, you have to decode it. The decoding comes through the words. They use wordsmithings as a battering ram, as the greatest weapon on mankind. For instance, if you take the word welcome, take the L out of it. We're coming for you. Government means govern mind. Governed the minds of the slaves. Okay, let's get back to the alphabet for a minute. Okay, I'm going to give you a little scenario here. You take an uppercase A, and you have a lowercase a. Now, someone pronounce the uppercase A for me.
A.
Not the ones that was here on Monday, because you're cheating. No, I want to hear from people.
A.
Okay, and give me the lowercase a. Some of you cheating, I know it. And that's true, that's right. Those are two distinct legal designations. Two distinct legal designations. Neither one of them mean the same thing at all. This is the style manual that they have created behind our backs that all the nations are operating from. This is why the nations, when you go there, they cannot speak the language that we have here today. Because anytime you go anywhere, you have to get their style manual. That makes, if you're in Washington, you need to go online and get Washington State Style Manual so you know how to effectively communicate with them. Because you're not playing on the same, you guys are not communicating the same language here.
How do you spell that? S-T-O-W?
What?
Style?
Style.
S-T-Y.
Like style from S-T-Y-L-E.
Oh, style.
Style. Yeah. I might have that Boston accent on. You know, I'm styling, you know. So when you go to every state, which is technically a country, here's the other thing. They tell you the state of California is actually East State of California. California went into receivership. So did all the other 50 countries. In fact, they're not states, they're their own prospective countries. They've convinced us that. But some of the average people just still say, this is the state of California, really? And you don't know where you are. So, 250 countries, I said, right? I didn't say it was 250 states, I said it's 250 countries. And there's 250 style manuals. Style. Yes, styling girl. Okay, so this is how you can begin to effectively communicate. And they will tell you each legal designation for a comma, a period, parenthesis, they will absolutely tell you how to use that, and according to their language. This is a big one, because they have completely deceived us even in our learning ability. Why? They want to cause traumatic trauma on the mind, to the point that it will also affect the soul. If the soul cannot, but you can't affect the soul. The soul will separate itself because it cannot feel pain. But they're thinking that if there's enough trauma, that their plan for all of this is very, very, very sinister. But I talk about that a little later. I leave that for the end, because I want to show you the technique and how to get off the timeline after everything I tell you tonight, so you don't have these experiences. Anyways, so when they started fermenting this plant under the Vatican and the Athenians, started with the Mediterranean, when the Athenians and the Romans had to, do business. They were always complaining that they had to go around creation to get to each other because it was such a long distance. They says, okay, we need to find a way to meet up on the waters. And we need to find a way to recognize our friendly vessels. How might we do that? A vessel means fly, vessel means flying in a flying in a free sea of space. Okay, it is not anchored to anything except for when it comes to dry dock, and then you anchor it in. Other than that, it's free in the sea of space. There's no governings. There's no international. That's how they created that maritime law. There's no governing in the middle of the sea. There's no one ruling there. Mm-hmm.
Every man is an island.
Mm-hmm. So what they have done was they said a vessel. A vessel means a projectile weapon. You are a vessel, the chair is a vessel. Anything that you can project at another and cause an injury or damage to is a projectile weapon. That's why they call it a vessel, including a piece of paper. It's a vessel. Your hieroglyphics on the piece of paper like this. This is a piece of paper. This is a piece of paper because we all know this is a vessel. This hieroglyphics on it, which we call words, which you are spelling, causing a spell, is your cargo.
Oh, wow.
This is your cargo. Okay. So they said, how do we determine friendly vessels that's coming up on the waters? We have to have 3 identifying marks. 1, the name. Must create a name. The name must be spelled in all uppercase. Name. It must be at the front of the bow, so we can see it at a distance through using binoculars.
Merce.
2, it must have 3 identifying, 9 to 12 numbers, so they can identify, coincide with that. And then number 3, the most precious icon is the flag of the country that is on the waters. That's why the UN shows all 250 flags in the UN. They're telling you that New York City is a friendly territory. It is the international of the Trust Treaty. It is a neutral territory. That's why all 250 flags are flying in the UN in New York City. That is their icon. So wherever you go, when you're accessing a territory, look for the flag and get to know your territory. Study Title IV. It goes into all the various flags. Study UN, get the flags, take pictures, whatever you need to do. Study those flags, and then get into Title IV. Title IV goes into flags and their various meanings. You need to distinguish what their various meanings are. What is a war flag versus a peace flag, peacetime, a neutral flag, America has two, Old Glory and a national flag. Outside of every building that's supposedly be, quote unquote, a government, is flying Old Glory. You can identify Old Glory because it's very large. 5 by 9.5, I think by 10, by 8, I think. And then the regular one is 5 by 9. Yeah, it's a big difference. You will notice it. And then, so that's the friendly vessel on the waters. So they bring it in to you. You have 3 identifying marks as well. Everything they do, this is why they're obsessed with number 3, in case you don't know. This is the reason why they're obsessed with the number 3. Okay? You have a driver's license. Your name is spelled in uppercase. You have a social security. Right? Your flag is from the state of your identification is your flag of that country. Your social security is the 9 digits. And your name in uppercase. So if you don't have those effects, they don't recognize you. That's why they could not recognize sovereign community. You cannot do business with an illusion. They cannot interact with you because you are living, breathing. You have blood pulsing through your veins. I can't say that for everyone. We know there's an alien race here, many of them. Those of you who have a heart and you got blood, I'm talking to you. Of course, the soul. Okay, and those of you who are not, please excuse my ignorance, but I don't know what you are. Okay, so, yeah, absolutely. So that's how they did that. And your car's the same. You know, the name of the particular car you drive, Toyota. That's the name. Your license plate is the flag of the country. The VIN, which everybody thinks means vehicle, it's vessel identification number. That's why it's in the front of the bow. Okay? This is why they want to do the RFD chip, because remember, we're a vessel, so they must put the what chip where? On the front. That's why they're going to be in front of you late, come soon. If you don't object to it. Yes, because you're a vessel. Until you object, I can show you how to do that. Just got to take the class. Okay, that is the vessel. That's how you have identifying marks. The sovereign community cannot be recognized. Listen to me very carefully. It's not that you're not effective. You very much are. I was learning this from the congressional members and senators. They used to teach classes on this. So that's why I know it's very effective. And it scares the bejeebies out of them because it's so very effective. Unfortunately, they trumped you because in order to have a lien, what they did was they convinced you to take possession. 9/10 is possession. You go, oh yeah, well, I'm in possession of my house, so therefore I own the house. Idiots. Because what trumps that is title. 1/10 is title. You want title. If I lend Jessica my car, Jessica can do everything with my car except to do what? Sell it. Exactly. Because why? Why is it my car? Because I have title. Thank you. I have ownership. Now, what trumps ownership is a lien. That's where that maritime lien comes in. That's why you can't own anything. That's why you don't own anything. You've all been liened out. You hear what I'm saying? That's why you cannot resolve this foreclosure mess. and it going on and on and on. The judges only allow it to go because it has to appear that they're functioning under the procedure, the constitutional procedure, because everything they've done since 1700s is treasonous act against this country. They have to make it appear that it appears that they're doing constitutionality when all the while everything they've done, including Congress, is a treasonous act. Everything. We all agreed to cover this up. You hired an attorney. The attorney has to administer that trust. The Bar Association of any country is a trust for here in America. They're the trustees administering the trust. We went into receivership. They don't own anything. So they created something that got you to push it around for them. They're living through you. You're pushing around their paperwork, just pushing around. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. None the wiser that you are. And when I talk to them, and I do talk to them, you see, like I said, my life has been fantastic. I mean, I have some scuffles, I really have. I got some stories to tell you, I mean, but they looked at me as one of the good old boys. I was one of the women that keeps secrets. Most times I couldn't, considering what was going on, what happened to me as a child. You damn right I kept your secret. I wasn't going to tell anybody. So they found trust in me, and they would tell me things. They did it out of cynicity. They did it out of cynical, because they said, well, who's going to ever believe you? After all, we created such division in this country, no one will ever believe you. Woman of color and a woman of color. Go ahead, guys, talk in front of her. There was many nights that I went and cried about that. And they were right, because there was times I could not. I wanted to talk about this 20 years ago, but I knew I couldn't. And the few that I was close to, that were in the circle, that we knew was going on, I couldn't even tell them, some of them. Okay? Because I was I was like what I would like to say, I was their weapon, but I was words' weapon. They told me a lot. A lot. And I thought, wow, I gained their trust. But I was just being me, just being genuine. Because I knew I didn't want to be a part of that. So anyways, that's how I come into a great deal of the knowledge. And my research and me being in the field is how I was able to. It was very difficult for me to have women around me, simply because of so much abuse that they were suffering, I was suffering. And, the way they trained me, to the point that I looked at women as weak. I was around men all the time. So they conditioned me to look upon, so that I couldn't console with another female. So they trained me to look at another woman as being weak. I have no female friends. I have a few. A very few. To this day. It's still something that I'm working on too. Not saying I'm there, because I'm not. I still have a lot of great stuff that I have to work through. But I'm progressing. I'm not using it as an excuse of why I'm not moving forward. On the contrary. I never allowed myself to be a victim. I was able to go anywhere that I wanted to go. I went in neighborhoods. I moved to Boise, Idaho. They took, Mark Farmer is there. Oh, he's going to get a hold of you, and you're the quick-class parent. He's going to hang you. I said, bring it on. Because I got a few things to say before they hang me. But bring it on. Okay. I go, you're crazy. Yes. I'm that super bitch, remember? Don't forget it. Okay. Yes, indeed. Yes, I went to Boise, Idaho. I was packing too anyway, so I'm like, are you right? I better carry my 357 with me. Yes, I did. The amazing thing I was so well received. They have never seen a black person in person. Do you hear what I'm saying? Yes. 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 I was wearing dreadlocks at the time, and guess who you think they thought I was? Thank you. So I had that really going on, and I was working that. I walked down the street, hey, Whoopi, hey! You didn't run? Yes! Oh, yeah, I made that work for me. Yes, indeedy. I go in the grocery stores, the damn store will stop. I don't know. I just want to go. Can I go? Yeah, sure. And somebody would pay for my groceries. I mean, I literally lived there for 2 years. I never paid for a damn thing. Everybody was loaning me their car. I could live in their house. You know, they were paying for my groceries. There was a bar across the street, and he would have me to come in because I got to learn Whoopi jokes, and he had me to come in on the weekend and tell her jokes. I had fun. Boy, that was the greatest. And they told me they was going to hang me up there. And they said, thank you. We never knew what to expect from a black person. We never seen one. And you gave us such a great impression of you because they painted you guys ugly on television. That's when I left with. Yep. So it was a great experience there. So I've gone places where they say that, you know, I was going to be shot and hung up. Went to Texas, did the same thing. Montana. I went to deep, hard areas where they claimed there was racist. That's when I realized they have used every means of division to keep us from learning about each other and communicating with each other. Let go of that racism stuff. Let go of it now. It doesn't serve anyone. Because at the end of the day, we are flesh. I'm only speaking to those of you that are really flesh. It's heart. Okay? Pulse. Breathing, you know, blood. The ones of you, you know, excuse my ignorance, okay? So anyways, really. And that's what their means when I talked about words. They looked at every facet that they can, use every means that they can cause a division. Rippling in the consciousness is what they was really after. Because terrorist means in Latin, terra, which means mind. Yes. Terra, of the mind. That's what terrorists mean. They're after your mind. Everything that they're doing is an attack on your consciousness. Everything. Listen to me very carefully. Everything. Hopefully I can demonstrate that to you in a minute or two. Everything. They got your attention by giving you stuff.